Yes, we can hear you, Robinson.
Okay. Welcome to this particular event, contribution of the youth digital economy space in Africa. At this particular moment, I would like to welcome Dr. Shadrack Opon, who will be our moderator for this particular event for the day. Welcome, Dr.
Thank you very much, Robinson. I believe my mic is clear if you can hear me, as well as my video.
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you very much. So welcome everyone to this exciting roundtable themed contribution of the youth in digital economy space in Africa. We want to quickly go through a few housekeeping rules so that we understand how we are going to continue the roundtable in a good manner. My name is Dr. Shadrack Opon, has been mentioned. I am a senior consultant health programs, as well as senior technical advisor, health system strengthening at Amref Health Africa. So first, we are going to request that all attendees to stay on mute during the session. The session will be in English, and we request that we all observe the allocated time during the session. Totally, the session will be up to 90 minutes. So I want to take it back to Robinson to take us through the understanding of YIDP so that all our attendees are at par with us. Thank you. Back to you, Robinson.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Pon. Once again, welcome all on board. My name is Robinson Ododa. I'm the Director of Partnership and Projects at Youth Initiative Development Program. Now, at Youth Initiative Development Program is an NGO that was started back in 2016 with a view of empowering the young people through various programs that include training, community building, and promoting youth engagement through volunteerism. Now, the Youth Initiative Development Program has been focusing on the following areas that include health and poverty relief, education, ICT, and sports. This is basically to nurture the young among the community, and also to promote mental health education among the young, which is the youth in our communities. Our program of the day is as shown above, so we can have a sneak preview of the program that we expect. Back to you, Dr.
Thank you very much, Robinson, for giving us a highlight of Youth Initiative Development Program. Allow me to take this opportunity now to set the pace for this roundtable. I am delighted to share this platform with very powerful panelists that we are going to engage today to understand some of the roles that the youth can play and the opportunities that are available for the youth in digital economy space. First, let me remind ourselves that Africa as a population has more than 60% of people who are under the age of 25. And according to the World Economic Forum, by 2030, the young people in Africa are going to make up to about 42% of the global population. What this means is that we are going to have millions of young job seekers waiting in line every single year. If we look at Africa alone, we have over 11 million young people who join the labor market every year. In contrary, the African labor market only generates about 3.7 million. What this means is that we are having many youth population falling in informal settlement or self-employment by default. By default. So what we want to understand today is that how do we cater for this, the amount of youths that do not fall into the formal employment? How do we equip youths for an increasingly evolving digital economy space? Or how do we create equal access to digital skills and opportunities for the youth? These are some of the questions that our digital experts and economists who have been dealing with the youth opportunities today are going to talk to us about. Allow me at this point to welcome the first keynote speaker to give her address. And Yvonne, while at this, please give an elaborate introduction of yourself so that our participants can understand your experience and where you're coming from in this perspective. Thank you. Over to you, Yvonne.
All right, thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
All right, wonderful, wonderful. Is it okay if I go ahead and share my screen?
Please, by all means.
Okay. All right, can everyone see my screen?
Yes, yes, Yvonne, we can see your screen.
All right, I hope you see the topic, Youth Initiative Development Program.
Sure.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. All right, so my name is Yvonne Kihumba. I'm a mental health advocate. And as you can see from the name, it's not a name from the dictionary. So I am a creative and I studied architecture. And then later on, I went wildly, like animal kind of wild, into the art space. And why I'm calling myself a mental health advocate is because I have lived mental health experience. I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression back in 2014 when I was 19 years old. And then I stopped taking medication after 5 years at 24 years old. So why did that happen? It's because of the digital space that we currently have. I got into teletherapy. And teletherapy is basically therapy through your devices. That means that your phone, your computers, and that is very, very possible because of how we have grown in the digital space. And it was difficult for me to get employment. I won't lie, even after studying architecture, I got employment immediately, even in one of the top architectural firms in Kenya. But I struggled with seizures because I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression, but I have a neurological condition where I get seizures due to the mental health issues. So I decided I don't want to be a victim. And so I decided to look for a therapist, and I did therapy for about 2 years. And it's a journey, and it's an ongoing conversation that I try to have with people. So technology has really helped me a great deal in that, and I would actually recommend people so that they can be well mentally. Yes, can you hear me, Bado?
Yes, yes, you can hear. Please proceed.
You're okay, continue.
All right. And the other thing is after some time, I decided to start Jasiri Warriors. Jasiri Warriors is only 6 months old. So maybe if you think it's a really big group, it's a growing group, and we match addressing the mental health issues in the society. And we basically talk about wellness. I'm sure you have seen in our society, we support more of disease and death than we do support wellness. So the approach that we are going with in Jasiri Warriors is those little daily habits that actually help your mind to be well. So we do, of course, our online Zoom meetings, and we had in February, we had one about self-love when we were talking about self-esteem and all that. So it's we've taken advantage of that and brought in many other youths so that they can be able to spread that information. And because it was hard for me to get employment every time I tried to go in different places, I started a company called Zufu Designs. It's a growing company, and we are only 3 people so far. But what we do is everything design. So it has 3 parts. We have graphic design, and we have interior design. Under it, we have decor and interior architecture and fine art, where whenever someone wants even fine art to be hung in their home, that's what we do. And it started a long time ago. It's been a growing business, but growing it virtually, the virtual presence has been very, very important for us, since we also do digital marketing in it and social media management, still under graphic design. So I just want to tell all of us that there are endless possibilities in the digital space. Being a virtual assistant, where I've written minutes in big meetings where they make a revenue of about 40 million. And I'm just writing minutes there, and I'm like, okay, I collect my jaw on the floor, but I get a lot of tips and tricks over there. So it's been, the digital space has been very, very promising, and it's something that I would recommend to every single person. And I thank you so much for this opportunity, by the way. I really appreciate it. Yeah, maybe the host could help me out.
Thank you very much, Yvonne, for that kind of, I think this shows how well youths can actually have a co-creation of activities that can actually engage them and contribute in the digital health economy. Mental health is a key issue, and if there is a time that this came up with a lot of recognition, is during COVID-19 period. We very much appreciate what you're doing in that area, and I think that is a lot of encouragement to many other youths that are today asking themselves, where do we start from? So having said that, allow me to bring in Sarah Noor, who is a global health leadership and innovation catalyst. Sarah, please, before you start, just give us a brief introduction of yourself. And I know, following up on what Yvonne has said, please also talk to us about some of the network of economic activities, commercial transactions, and some of the professional interactions that you've had that are enabled by digital gaps and digital space and opportunities that youth can take up as an advantage in health, as well as agribusiness and education. Over to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Dr. Shatrak. Really appreciate it. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sarah Noor, as mentioned, and I think the best way I can describe myself is I'm just a digital health enthusiast. I've been working in these issues for many years. I'm probably the oldest in this group now. So that's probably where I'll leave the intro in the interest of time. And then if somebody can enable me to share my screen, I'll get right to the keynote presentation.
Yes, I think that can happen. Collins? Good.
So I titled my keynote, "What's Youth Got to Do with Digitization?" Because in some spaces where I am at, it feels like the youth become afterthought, even though the reality is, I'll share, that is the youth who really should be driving anything that has to do with digitization, digital transformation, digital economy, development on our continent. As Dr. Chatrak mentioned at the beginning of our program today, 60+% of Africa's population is under the age of 25. By 2030, which is just 7 years away, young Africans will contribute to 42% of the global youth. Let that sink in. We're the second largest continent on the globe, and 42% of our youth will be part of that globe. That's huge. We're a very young continent. But the good news is 75% of Africans are also subscribed to mobile service, and which I'll get to a little bit about why I think some of the gaps that we need to address is critical to this mobile technology. And I believe that the young people have collective power to chart a new course for the continent and lead our digital transformation. It's not possible for them to be recipients, consumers, and just on the sidelines of this. As in Kenya, in East Africa, we see this. Digitization is shaping our life. It has revolutionized the way we shop and make payments. It has strengthened our agro businesses, and it's improving accessibility and quality of health service, which is near and dear to my heart, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And it's really transforming our education systems. If you have children, you'll see that they're way more comfortable with it than even the adults right now. And I think for me, my hypothesis is that unless we have digital skills, we are not going to be leading digital transformation on our continent. We may have other people from the West leading for us, but we really need to develop our youth's ability we need to skill them, because that's really what will enable us for inclusion, and what will enable us to have an efficient use of the technology, adapt it quickly, and create the kind of entrepreneurial ecosystem that's driven by technology on the continent. So a little bit about our company. Hello Afi was founded at the height of COVID-19 pandemic, and it's Somalia's first telehealth platform and application. We developed this after an experience I had. I lost my father to COVID-19 in the beginning of the pandemic, and it really hit me that having a brick and mortar healthcare infrastructure for hundreds of years really has not prepared us for this uncertain future that we have now, living with pandemics and outbreaks and all these public health emergencies. So that's why we established it. And our mission is to leverage the power of mobile technology, which about 90% of the Somalis now have, to increase the access to healthcare for almost 70% of the population who lack healthcare access for a variety of reasons. Some of it is a geographic issue. A lot of nomads and pastoralists don't have access to the medical infrastructure that's city-based. And Somalia also has one of the lowest medical provider to population ratios. We have about 4 health providers per 10,000 population. And I think Kenya has about 25 or 28, depending on the data that you look at. And what's really exciting, when we started this journey, as I mentioned, I am not a youth. And I didn't know what to expect when we were recruiting our doctors and nurses initially. And what we ended up with about 90% of our workforce, including really some bright and smart clinicians who are under the age of 30. And that's really when it hit me that there's a gap in between their desire to embrace the technology and their ability to actually make good use of it and really drive our business ventures. And that led me to the topic we're talking about today, which is how can youth contribute to the digital economy? And there are a lot of ways they can, but to me, it starts and ends with the skill sets. do we have the skills to really do the work that we need to do from a business perspective, from government perspective, from the humanitarian sector, whatever the digital transformation and digital economy is being transacted, do we really have the skill sets, and are we preparing our youth for the future that's already here? And I'll outline 5 skills that I think are critical to making sure that the youth take the lead and transform the work that has already begun. One is the communication. I think building the skills and confidence required for digital communication gives you an edge as the person who's using it. And from a social media applications to video conference tools to messaging platforms, we can't really have our youth leave school, leave universities without these basic skills and being able to communicate. And that means cash for some people in their hands, as our previous speaker spoke about, being able to make money taking minutes, and joining these fancy meetings requires you to have the skills to even get you into that room. So number one for me is the ability to communicate using the digital tools that we have today. The second one, which I'll talk about as the 5 key skills, is making sense of data. We are in healthcare. We are terrible at it in terms of gathering and processing information, and we need help. We need young people who have the passion for it, who have the skills, who have the wherewithal to really make sense complicated data sets, who are able to conduct research using digital tools, who are able to analyze simple and complex data, who really can help us, those of us in the healthcare industry and other places, communicate to the masses and make the data make sense to everybody. The third key skill is managing transactions. We are transacting everything. For example, at Hello Afi, patients pay us using mobile money because Somalia is cashless. We don't do anything in cash. So the ability for people to actually track what these transactions are, to keep the consumer's shopping abilities safe, create cybersecurity, make sure that things are working properly, using all types of digital tools to make these transactions happen is really, really critical to our success as a kind of a digital health company. But I'm sure if you're in fintech, if you're in agri-tech, all of us are really struggling to find people with the skill sets of finance and digital technology. And then the fifth one I think about is creativity and problem solving. That's probably where the rubber meets the road. I have not met a young person that has not inspired me in terms of their ability to think creatively about the problems that we're facing. But sometimes they just don't have the leadership or the confidence to be able to speak up and take the lead or say the things that need to be said. But things are emerging, and I'm hoping that our friends in the academic sectors can really help us cultivate sense of creative problem solving among our youth, from designing the solutions to meet market demands to advocating for safe internet. I'll just share a quick story. I was traveling outside of the country and had taken some time off. And when I came back, I had 3-4 calls from our young staff telling me the things that we needed to do to design our platform better, to think about ways we can serve our patients and create more demand for the services that we're having. So really, I may be the co-founder, I may be the elder in the room, but it's really the creativity and the problem solving skills of the youth that we rely on to really help run our startup and to create opportunities and to create ideas that we can take to the next level. So the future is already here. I think the digitization has the potential to transform, as I've repeatedly said. And it has benefits not just for the health sector, but all sectors in Africa. And our collective success depends on how well our governments establish proper policy frameworks and supportive digital frameworks. In Somalia right now, we have none of that. We don't even have We have an ability to get a business license from the Ministry of Trade, but there is no policy or framework that's really supporting the work that we do. So we're in a pioneering role where we're just doing things and hope that the market catches up or the government policies catch up to us. Or on the positive side, we have ability to actually influence how that policy gets written, how the frameworks are established. So there's a positive side in being a pioneer, but there's also the downside of not having the ecosystem to really support the work that we're doing. So we rely on our friends in Kenya and Ethiopia and other East African countries, including Rwanda, to really learn from and get the experience and the resources that we need to be able to run our business in Somalia. And lastly, it really depends on the extent to which we can upskill our youth. Yes, there are equity issues, even as the 5 things I talked about. There are youth in the lower economic scale that can't pay the Zoom fee, that can't really get the training or afford the training. And I realize that, but that's why, this kind of opportunities where the nonprofit and government and us in the private sector can come together to really figure out how do we collaborate, how do we create partnerships so that we can collectively uplift and upskill our youth. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sarah, for that insightful input. I am happy to see what you are doing, and the statistics that you have shown actually indicate that there is urgent need for the youth to develop and acquire these skills. I'm going to come back to you later to ask. I see a lot of questions coming up about what you are doing to foster public-private partnerships that would help other youths acquire some of these skills that they need to actually contribute in the digital economy. But before that, I'm going to ask Yunus Musa, who is the CEO and founder of STEM Club Project Africa, to come in and also talk to us about some of the issues that he is experiencing around inequality of digital literacy in Africa. Yunus Musa, before you come in, allow me to recognize the presence of some of the participants we have. We have quite a number of participants today, representatives from Trigger Foods, Youth Health Africa, Kesho Yetu Initiative. I have seen Hilary Wasio is here. Masinde Muliro University is also represented. Thank you all for joining us today, plus a lot of other people. So Yunus Musa, let me bring you in and talk to us about some of the inequalities within digital literacy in Africa that you've been experiencing as part of your experience with what you do. Come in, Yunus.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for inviting me to be with you through this wonderful program. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
I really appreciate you for inviting me to contribute on this topic today. By virtue of introduction, my name is Ambassador Muhammad Yunus Musa. I am a diplomatic fellow of the Federation of International Gender and Human Rights, and also the CEO and founder of STEM Club Project Africa. The STEM Club Project Africa is a community development initiative which I founded in order to bridge the digital gap as well as skills gap in our learning or education system in Africa. And it has been pertinent and evident enough that Africa is having one of the highest population in the world, which to some they are seeing that population as a threat, while to us we are seeing that population as a great opportunity for us to be able to feed ourselves and as well to contribute in feeding the rest of the world. Digitalization is very, very important, and as we are aware, and because that today we are on the 4th industrial revolution, and what is needed in the 4th industrial revolution is nothing rather than a person to be inclined or to be aware of what digitalization is all about. We know digitalization in Africa has accelerated exponentially even before the stroke of COVID-19. Africa was in the midst of pioneering digital transformation. However, the worldwide market for digital exportable services is just 3 trillion market, for example. Yet Africa's share in this 3 trillion is less than just 1%. And it is worrying that we are having a population of over 1.9 billion Africans. Despite this a huge population, one of the reasons why Africa's share of this market is so small is the lack of digitally advanced skilled person in the continent. So you see, digitalization is needed now more than ever before. Therefore, it is evident enough that providing African youth with access to digital skills can not only help prepare our youth for future employment and opportunities, but can ultimately create a more empowered workforce that will serve not only Africans, but the rest of the world entirely. Today, whether we believe it or not, digital skills have been necessary for the workplace for decades. For as long as there has been computers, servers, and electronic communication, there has been a need for digitally inclined professionals like IT specialists and employees who can do tasks safely. But to ask ourselves, we need to be conversant with what this digitalization, what digital skills and opportunities means. Let me just make a quick recap on this. Digital skills are defined as the ability to find, evaluate, use, share, and create content using digital services such as computers and smartphones. And these skills that we are talking about include generic competencies like, for instance, conducting internet researches, online communication via emails or instant messaging app, use of professional online platforms, and knowledge of digital financial services. So digital skills required in workplace are a bit more advanced, and organizations expect the vast majority of their employees to have them, not just a select few. So when you look at it, you see that technology is at the center of our lives, and our dependence of the internet and digital communication increases almost every day, or I can say it increases within every second. So our workforce must keep with the evolving skill demand. With more than 12 million African youths joining the workforce every year, Africa is home to the youngest working population globally and could supply the next generation of this workforce. In fact, over 230 million jobs in sub-Saharan Africa will require digital skills by the year 2030, according to a research, which is resulting in almost 650 million training opportunities that will be available, according to the IFC Digital Skills in Sub-Saharan Africa study. So you see, digitalization as a pathway for development and job creation has become increasingly central to African policies and programs, which is why the African Union proposed an agenda, the African Union 2063 agenda, for example, which puts digital education as one of its key priorities. And this includes universal access to quality childhood, primary, secondary, and university education. Gender parity is also inclusive. So we are approaching 2030. You see, developing digital skills has become critical to every professional success. According to Forbes, it predicts that 85% of jobs that will be available in 2030 haven't yet been invented, as the work humans do will continually shift due to the fact that most jobs will become obsolete due to the emergence of new ones. Looking at the technological advancements emerging in the world today and how rapidly world is evolving, there is a need for all youth in Africa to possess the relevant digital skills to be able to take up future jobs, which is why I funded the STEM Club Project Africa in order to see how our youth can tap from these opportunities and make sure that they contributed greatly to the economic prosperity of Africa and the world at large. Digital advancements are changing the world of work. It is estimated that over the next 10 years, 9 out of jobs globally will require digital skills. And this digital transformation has the potential to reverse the trend of joblessness and jobless growth in Africa, thereby altering the structure of African economies through investing in digitally enabled jobs. So digital skills has a lot more of dimensions that if we have to talk about the digital skills and opportunities that are available, then we just take the whole of the time discussing about it because it is a vast topic which requires a much more time of explanation. But when we look at the digital skills centrally in the sectors of the health and the sectors of education, which are central to what we are talking about, Providing youth with access to these data skills can create a lot of impact in our societies. But if I have to be specific, I would take, a contribution of what youth can contribute if they are digitally inclined in the sectors of the education. One of the underlying challenges delivering education in Africa is the stark inequalities that exist across the continent. So when we provide our youth with data skills, providing access to these data skills and opportunities can help close the gaps and provide education to individuals who may previously not have had access to learning resources. For instance, through online learning, data skills can provide access to higher education resources and assist also in providing a better quality education for all. Also, increasing access to learning when our youth population are digitally inclined, we have an increased access to learning. In many African countries today, access to learning for youth is limited, to be honest. And this is partly due to lack of educational and technological infrastructure, especially in remote areas. This is where digital technology come in, providing a low-cost means to improve access to education for youth across the continent. And again, this can be particularly transformative in remote areas where traditional means of education might not be readily available. It is unfortunate that over 100 million of African children have never set foot in school. And out of the reasons why those children do not have access to education is the lack of data skills and awareness in our continent. So it is very evident enough that when we provide our youth with the relevant skills they needed, especially digital skills and opportunities needed in the 21st century, will be increasing not only access to learning, but will be giving them the passport to their future in their hands. Relevantly, when we look at the impact the digital skills will have on youth and the impact it will have on the health sector, the health sector in Africa has been facing numerous challenges, which include inadequate access to healthcare services, shortage of healthcare professionals, and limited health information management system. Providing youth with access to digital skills and opportunities can help address these challenges. For instance, by improving the quality of healthcare services, minimizing healthcare costs, and promoting health information management. So there is a need to provide youth with access to digital skills and opportunities that can help enhance the quality of healthcare services as well as education in Africa and the rest of the world. We talk of digital technologies all the time, and we forget to mention how we can even support one another in order to see that we can tap from the advantage of our population we have. It is been expected that by the year 2050, Africa will be having a working population that will be larger than the entire world. Yes, we'll be having a working population in those coming few years that will be larger than the entire world when combined together. When some look at this, they see it as a threat, like I keep saying, but to us, we are seeing this as an ample opportunity because we can tap from the available, resources they have, and we can even impact the rest of the world when we equipped with our youth and children with the relevant skills needed in this 21st century. And of course, when we are talking about the relevant skills that we needed in the 21st century, you cannot skip to talk about the data skills and opportunities, because that is where the future of the world lies. We are talking about the STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And one of what Africans put forward to see is to see how we can boom our economy. We cannot boom our economy, or we cannot take our economy to the land of prosperity unless we start to impact our upcoming ones in the generation with the relevant skills they needed in order to stand on their feet. I supposed to talk much on these data skills, but I'm at the midst of an emergency. I have to apologize seriously for not sharing my slide because it has been a kind of emergency to me. I have to stop elsewhere in order to see that I attend to this very wonderful session. I thank you so much for allowing me to speak to you from the context of what I learned about the data skills. And I thank you so much for giving your time to be here to learn with each other. Thank you so much, please, for allowing me to contribute greatly on this topic.
You are welcome, Musa. And I think that is a very great contribution that you have made. They are supporting the young people in STEM programs. We would have really loved to hear more about what you are doing to actually bridge the gap of the inequality gap that is existing in the digital literacy, and what's happening around the gender divide. Who are you actually getting on board more? Is there something that is being done around that area to just bridge the gender divide as well as the gap that is existing in this kind of digital literacy platforms within Africa? But even with that, having said that, allow me to bring in Shreya now. Shreya is the CEO and founder at Nest for us, USA, to share with us some of her experiences around fundamental role of resilient youth leadership in digital empowerment. So Shreya, while talking about this, you can also discuss some of the issues around capacity building skills that you have as initiatives around onboarding more youth to this. I know a lot of times people have been told that youth are the leaders of tomorrow, but is this what we want? How do we ensure that youths can actually take up leadership positions today? Over to you, Shreya.
Thank you so much. So hi, everyone. First off, thank you so much to Mr. Collins and the whole YIDP team for this wonderful speaking opportunity. I'm Shreya Venkat, a 20-year-old rising fourth-year student at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. in the United States. I'm also the founder and CEO of the nonprofit Nest for Us. And what once began as a small project 7 years ago is now a multifaceted global organization fueled by over 6,000 volunteers who altogether have contributed over $3 million in value of volunteer hours, impacting tens of thousands in over 30 countries across 6 continents with the support of manifold public-private partnerships at all levels. And over the past 13 years, I've contributed over 5,000 hours of service advancing social progress worldwide by supporting causes ranging from global hunger, social justice, health equity, quality education, poverty, and climate action. And one of my main goals through my organization, as well as in the professional and personal space, is to uplift youth voices and ensure that young people are given decision-making power in various facets of the community by co-creating opportunities with my fellow peers, as well as fellow youth leaders in the community. And by giving opportunities for youth to take on leadership roles through civic engagement through Nest for Us, I equip young people with crucial leadership skills through professional development opportunities, hence cultivating the next generation of leaders daily. After all, I believe that there's no invariable framework for what constitutes instrumental change. That's why I empower any and all individuals to leverage their unique strengths to drive bottom-up, equitable, and cost-effective, environmentally conscious change. Today, I wanted to bring to the forefront of the conversation how youth leadership can help advance progress towards universal health coverage through the integration of the 6 building blocks of health systems: a WHO framework incorporating health financing, health leadership and governance, health service delivery, health workforce, health information, and health technology, as has been addressed today, into interventions aimed at maximizing accessibility, affordability, and effectiveness. So here are my key best practices for achieving the vision of a well-performing, community-driven healthcare system that benefits the greater good. Firstly, I believe it is critical to foster collaborative governance over primary healthcare within health delivery frameworks. This includes specifically prioritizing participation of all consumers, particularly youth. Youth are oftentimes left out of this conversation, especially when it comes to health systems, but it is absolutely critical to engage youth in these conversations, as well as providers at various levels of the decision-making process. Nextly, I would like to highlight the invaluable role of community mobilization with respect to addressing underlying root causes and specific needs among target populations. Oftentimes, we scratch the surface, we look at the surface level of the different health issues that are persisting across the community, but it's extremely important to focus on those underlying root causes in order to create the most effective solutions. And this should involve cultivating intergenerational dialogue. This basically means incorporating the past, present, and future generations and having them work together, forging cross-sectoral partnerships, just like we were talking about with public-private partnerships, as well as designing culturally salient measures through active listening of those most affected by the issues at hand, thus systemizing public participation as an inextricable element of health policy. Oftentimes, youth leaders are simply tokenized or undervalued for the efforts that they're spearheading in the community, especially when it comes to high-level decision-making spaces. So I believe it's crucial to provide young people with a multitude of platforms to share their views, ideas, and beliefs with the general public. Additionally, addressing fragmentation, whether in the context of national or regional governments, corporate hierarchies, or levels of health systems, that's an essential preliminary step to bridging persisting equity gaps. A starting point for this is increasing accessibility and utilization of technology, which can only be achieved through concurrent provision of consistent quality education, particularly targeting youth. You want to start the quality education as early on as possible, particularly focusing on young girls and women as change agents within the community, along with investment in community-driven initiatives that are supporting development at the grassroots level. And lastly, as has been highlighted throughout, there's a critical necessity to acknowledge the interconnected nature of these 6 building blocks, rather than regarding them as distinct, isolated entities, especially due to the fact that health systems themselves are complexly interdependent. Ranked the best healthcare system in East Africa presently, Kenya is a regional frontrunner in effectuating this vision if it continues to leverage cross-sectoral domestic support and international aid to bridge enduring gaps in its overall health system. As an integrated process accounting for patient-centric care and encompassing everything from youth-driven policy-based decision-making mechanisms to localized grassroots investment cannot be underscored if universal health coverage is intended to be fulfilled before the end of the decade. And I would be delighted to connect with all of you here in order to help prioritize youth voices in decision-making spaces. Currently, I'm pursuing an accelerated master's degree at Georgetown University in global health, with an aim of delving into a career within healthcare policy, combining my passions for health equity, climate activism, and volunteerism to aid marginalized communities worldwide. Overall, I believe it is vital for newly designed health-related policies, administrative reforms, and community interventions to take into consideration equity and sustainability as overarching standards in order to warrant a conceptually coherent approach to strengthening health systems in the local, national, and global community. Thank you so much for the speaking opportunity, and I'm excited to hear all the other remarks from the other speakers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Freya. You are doing a very good job there. I'm happy to hear that while you are studying, you're already doing all this around youth leadership and entrepreneurship. This is great work that you're doing. We would also like to hear more on how those who want to engage you from other continents to form partnerships can actually engage with you and contribute to the work that you're doing. So we will definitely come back to you over that to tell us something more on how they can reach out and just engage you in your work. So at this juncture, we want to cross over to the Power Minute speakers that we have. We have another set of 3 speakers that are going to talk to us briefly, just also their experience that they have, and probably make a few comments on what other speakers have talked about. So let me bring in Wangari Kariuki, who is the Community and Partnership Manager for Impact East Africa, to just share her reflections on how the youth can actually be onboarded on digital health, economy in general, and how the youth can be engaged. Wangari, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Shadrach. So my name is Wangari Kariuki. I work at E4 Impact Foundation. E4 Impact Foundation is a foundation that is registered in Italy, in Milan, as a non-profit organization. We also registered in Kenya as the non-profit, and also in 22 other African countries. So I sit in the Kenyan office, specifically the Nairobi office. So basically what we do as E4 Impact is that we capacity build entrepreneurs, both those at early stage and those who are looking to scale, to just refine their business models, to just come up with strong and sustainable business and finance models. So part of what we do when it comes to young people contribution to the digital economy, what comes to my mind is digital skills and capacity building. And so what we do at E4 Impact is that we have different programs that are donor funded that we run in partnership with various donors and other development partners. So we recruit young people and we capacity build them on different areas. The key goal is, unlocking job opportunities. But for us to do that, we have to, capacity build them. So we run programs of 6 months to 1 year, where we have young people come to our entrepreneurship center. So they are trained on different business models and finance model, with them of just unlocking access to finance. And access to finance we are talking about inclusive and relevant finance products. So these comes at different levels. So we have finance, facilities in terms of bank, financial institutions. We also work a lot with investors who continuously to, invest in young people who are in the digital space. Then we also have finances in terms of grants. Some of our programs have a grant component to it. And, so what I do in terms of partnerships is that, we are constantly looking for like-minded institutions, both government institutions and the private sector, and other entrepreneurship and innovation ecosystem players to come up with, inclusive programs that target young people, that ensure that young people are capacity built so that they are able to not just participate, but to meaningfully participate in the digital space. So we are constantly looking, for people who are like-minded to reach out to us and to see how we can work together. So for me, when it comes to the young people contribution to the digital space, capacity building is really a huge component of what I believe in and what we do here at E4 Impact, because I believe that we need to empower the young people, with the tools, the necessary tools that they need to not only survive in the Kenyan ecosystem, but also to go Pan-African and to go, even globally, because now we work a lot with Italy and the European Union, get best practices and share knowledge with other entrepreneurs that exist in the ecosystem, whether it's, within Italy or within, the larger European Union. So we're also looking, I'm happy to see that we have someone from US. So we're also looking to expand to other areas of the globe to see that, we are constantly exposing our young people to the world that it is out there, to not only limit them to the opportunities that exist locally, but to also, open their mind and for them to share their innovative and creative ideas to the rest of the world, because this way we are going to unlock more opportunities for young people. So the world is digital. So if you're in Kenya, if you're in Nigeria, if you're in Ethiopia, you're able to connect with, other young and like-minded individuals in other countries. So I am so happy to be in this platform, and I am hoping that, out of this meeting, we are going to come up with, a few partnerships that we are going to leverage to make sure that we are, empowering our young people to meaningfully participate in, the economic space of digital economy. Thank you so much. I had 2 minutes, so I've tried to be as brief as I can.
Thank you very much, Wangari. I think you have done well within the time that is there. And one of the key questions that we are answering today is how we can foster partnerships to accelerate the impact of digital economy to reduce youth unemployment. And quite a number of organizations are represented here. And it is our belief that we are going to continue engaging to see how we can foster this going forward. Before I usher in the next PowerMint speaker, Yonela, who is a marketing and communications lead at Youth Health Africa, all the way from South Africa. Allow me to usher in my co-moderator, Liz Otai, who is a senior communications consultant, who also joined us and going to support me in carrying forward the discussions going forward. Meanwhile, Yonela, you are welcome. Please share with us your experience in this area as we all look forward to forming more partnerships to reduce youth unemployment in Africa and the world. Over to you, Yonela, as Liz comes in.
Thank you so much for having me, Shadrach, and thank you very much for inviting me. I'm really, really excited to be part of the session today. So I think just a little bit on my background as well as the work that we do at Youth Health Africa. So my name is Yonela Zibulani. I'm the Marketing and Communications Lead for Youth Health Africa. So essentially, Youth Health Africa is a youth development organization based in Johannesburg, but we have various programs that we do around the country. It's essentially a youth development structure where we empower youth within mainly public healthcare facilities. So the sort of model came about because you know, we do have a very high rate of HIV/AIDS within our country and essentially within the continent, and as well as the high unemployment rate within our country in particular. So we sort of merged those two as a way to address both of them simultaneously, especially when you consider, for example, how young women are sort of vulnerable to various things because they're unemployed, you know, because they don't have access to money of their own, so they're vulnerable to various things, sexually transmitted diseases. So what we do is we take youth and place them in different public healthcare facilities, and they have different roles that they do within the public healthcare facilities, also to assist the overburdened public healthcare system that we have. You know, we have a lot of stories that we've heard over you know, the different experiences that people have had, especially in South Africa, because of how overburdened our healthcare system is and because of the high rate of unemployment. So we've really tried to address all of that. Since we've started, we've been able to employ over 4,000 youth. You know, it is a 12 months paid internship program at the moment, but, you know, we've really been able to bridge the gap also in terms of the lack of working experience that we end up dealing with, that then has a consequence in terms of you applying for working opportunities. You know, we're always hearing stories again about how people are not able to get jobs, even if you have a qualification, because you just don't have the work experience. And you can't get the job if you don't have work experience, and you can't work if you don't have the experience. So we sort of wanted to combine all of those things. These are crucial issues that we're facing in South Africa and in the continent in general. So as we've been dealing with the youth that come through our program, we're sort of able to identify that a lot of different skills are needed within working environments. So this is where I come in terms of digital skills. You know, we've really seen that there's an opportunity for advancement in terms of digital literacy, in terms of digital training, but we have a lot of gaps that first need to be identified. And I think that's where opportunities for partnership comes in, because, you know, we have a skills development program throughout the 12 months of the internship, where we try to connect with our youth throughout the program doing skills development. You know, we do digital literacy, we do financial literacy, to sort of equip them with skills that they need, so that once they're done with the program, they have, you know, all the relevant skills. But we often have challenges when it comes to, for example, Wi-Fi and data connectivity, things that in developed countries, they don't have those issues, you know, so it sort of sets us back in a way. And it would be really great for us as, you know, for example, if we collaborate with government organizations and private sector to address some of those basic necessities that people have. And then from there, we're able to address and, you know, really harness the opportunities that come with the digital skills and digital literacy. For example, I'm always speaking about the fact that we need to give young people like myself opportunities within organizations. So there needs to be an emphasis put on digital roles, right? So, for example, if we're speaking about social media and digital media, instead of giving the task to someone who just happens to be within the organization, we need to prioritize giving the digital roles to people who are enthusiastic about, you know, learning digital skills. We need to emphasize to different organizations that, you know, we have young people that we can train and we can place within your organizations who are enthusiastic about enhancing your organizations from
Yonela,
that.
maybe just for you to wrap up, because it looks like your time is up.
Okay, sure, yes. So essentially, this is the experience that we've had within Youth Hub Africa, and we're really looking forward to expanding within the scope of development, especially from the perspective of digital literacy. Thank you so much.
My apologies. I could tell this was one of your passions, and I had to cut you short, or else you would have gone about it. But thank you very much for that input. And I like the fact that you've highlighted that we also need to address the gaps as far as digital spaces concerned. For that input, ladies and gentlemen. I'm taking over for a bit. My apologies about that. But the next speaker, as per the program, is Evans Rabare. Evans, if you're online, please feel free to just take it over.
Just confirm that you can hear me.
Loud and clear. Please proceed.
Thank you so much. My name is Evans Rabare, as has been mentioned there. So I work with a company called Africa on 8 as a senior project manager. For today's purpose, I'll just talk about our experience. So we are a digital marketing company, but we also do programs in partnership with development agencies such as Google, GSMA, UNCDF. So we are in 6 countries. I've had the opportunity to work in Nairobi, in Kenya, Rwanda, and now I'm based in Addis Ababa. Despite from my experience, so despite the milestones and the strides that have been made in the digital space, we still have the monster, of lack of access, affordability, a lack of expertise, and all that, and we still have these among the youth. So that is why, as a company, in collaboration with the development agency, we usually map special groups of people, so youth being one of them. So women-led or owned or managed business being another special group that we are interested in. And then also we usually work with refugees and returnees. So basically, a group of people went abroad for jobs and came back. So we work with those special groups of people. Speaking about today's topic, so how can youth take advantage of, what is happening in the digital space? For me, what comes to mind is that the youth can actually take advantage of the gig economy. So we've seen a number of people creating jobs for themselves through through the digital transformation, and we've had more and more, youths getting employment through this, and for some government, it has not been very easy to tax that. So for some reason, it could be some form of tax-free money. We've had a lot of careers cropping up as a result of the digital transformations that we have. If I come closer to where I am right now, so as you know that so for Ethiopia, for instance, we have Safaricom coming in, so there is more internet penetration going on, more and more people having access to internet, but there is still challenges, a lot of challenges that youth are facing just to be able to be able to access internet, be able to effectively use it in their learning at workplace, because digital transformation has enabled collaborations. It has also enabled improvement at work, payments. One of the previous speakers talked about some of the things that have been enabled through digital economy. So if given time, I can talk about so many things, but because I have 2 minutes, I'd beg to stop at that point.
That is perfect. Thank you very much for giving time. And I like what you've highlighted, with pretty much falls around what Yonela was emphasizing, that there are some gaps. As you know, we have 1.8 billion youths and adolescents, and this is a huge market, but this is also a vulnerable market as far as the digital space is concerned. So we need to also address those challenges, and as highlighted by the previous speaker, the gaps that already exist. And we've seen the digital divide. This was pretty much clear during the COVID-19. It showed who can access things like internet and the devices that are in the digital space, but also highlighted who else has been left behind. And those are the kind of key concerns that needs to be addressed with this big number of youth out there. So we'll just go to the next beat of the program where we have YIDP take over in regards to speaking about the next call to action. And I'll just hand it over for some minutes to Collins to kind of like take it up, and then we'll open the discussions around today's topic. And please feel free to use your electronic hand. After he's done, we'll open the forum so that you can raise your concerns, just make comments, etc. So Collins, over to you.
I hope you can hear me.
Loud and clear, yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Liz. A lot has been said here about the gaps that we have within the digital economy. We really appreciate the insights that have come on board. And it is true that the youth today, they really face a lot of challenges. And some of the challenges the youth face today is cross-cutting. It's all in Kenya, it's all in Uganda, it's all in Ethiopia. But now we are privileged as YIDP now to champion this talk, not only talk, but action. So how can we, together with different stakeholders, partners, so that we help the people, the young people, enter into the labor market, particularly underprivileged youth. So this is in our heart, and we really call upon different stakeholders to come on board so that we may be able to narrow down some of these challenges and find the right route that we can work together collaboratively to help them overcome. So I'm not going to take a lot of time, Liz, because it is all in black and white. So I'm just throwing the dice back to you so that we open forum for to hear views from different people at different angle. Over to you, Liz.
Perfect, thank you for that. And just also, I'd like to kind of bring in Sarah Noor if you're still on the call, because I mean, your immense expertise around digital space. Just a quick question in around, there are a lot of innovations, but when it comes to moderation of the digital space, there's also a huge gap. And it will be good to also have your insight on what you think about moderating the digital space itself. It's still a bit of a gray area. Everybody's coming up with innovations, but that tracking of all these innovations, especially within the health space, becomes a bit of a nightmare because there's so many of them. It would be good to also have your insight on that.
Yeah, thank you, Lizzie. It's good to see you. I think the hardest part for us in healthcare and moderation is I think nobody knows what we're doing. I think the people are still just trying to build some of the basic building blocks of what our digital health economy should look like. And in time, I think it would come. But the issue I still see, and I think some of other speakers pointed to, is I think our youth, maybe because of our African cultures and the way we were raised, I think there's deference to the older people, there's deference to tradition, there's deference to the way things have been. And I really would like to see the youth be a little bit bolder in asserting themselves and having taken up space, whether it's in the moderation space, whether it's really the development space, whether it's acceleration and capacity building. I feel like there is still the youth are sidelined, whether intentional or unintentional. And I don't know that we're easily, those of us in the middle age are easily giving up seats unless the demand is there, unless the youth come up and say, I need you to create space for me. I need to be able to get in because I have things to say. And as I mentioned in my presentation, when we listen, I think the youth have a lot more thoughtful strategies and ideas and creative ways of problem solving that we give credit for. Because we just tell them, you have to learn, just be quiet, watch me do it. And I really would like to see us hyping them up a little bit and getting out of the way so they lead, because really this future is theirs, if you ask me.
And that is definitely, I totally agree. And what has happened is they have been sidelined for quite some time, and they were more of a recipient of the innovations. But this number is very big, and you can imagine all of them being super creative and being, just having that enabling environment to actually thrive with the innovative ideas. I'd like to hear from Mohammed Yunus Musa. I mean, we also need policies that are not so strict when it comes to innovation. I mean, when a youth comes up with a great idea that's going to contribute in the economy, they don't need to find this policies that have been put in place that completely, make them not want to go ahead. You have a good idea, you have a great innovation, then there should be like mechanisms like ABCD where you'll get funding to, revamp your innovation from an idea stage, go through a hub sort of a process, etc. Mohammed, it will be good to just hear from you on your insights on what kind of policies should be there, the ones that are existing, and how lenient governments should be in terms of the digital space. Feel free to unmute.
Yes, thank you so much. Can you hear me, please?
Carry on. I can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. You see, when we are talking about, innovation and talent everywhere in the world, we are just referring to innovations and talent from Africa. I keep on saying this simply because Africa is having the largest population we can think of. We are having, the largest population of the youth. And as you can see, there are a lot more of innovations that are coming out from Africa, but simply because there were lack of some, relevant policies that are, intended to help those the people with the kind of talent or youth with the talent in Africa. You see, much of them have been declining. This is just the real scenario that I came across yesterday. I used to have had a friend who is, very innovative. He, instead of, seeing how government is spending a lot of money buying, tricycles in the commercial city of Kano State, because when you talk of commercial means of transportation, the one that is having the highest percentage is the tricycle riders. So when he see that a lot of people and government are spending money and buying that from foreign countries, he said, okay, let him come up with something similar to that tricycle using, raw local made materials. So he started working on his project and he came up with a very good, tricycle, vehicle that is, that is capable of taking the, need of our people from the state. So the government invited him. When they invited him, he went there. They have a lot of photograph and, a lot of videos. They share it on their, social media and everything. It trended online that, and they promised to, give him some certain amount of money in order to, make his innovation. I said it was 5 million naira. I think the governor promised him. But it was just yesterday that I was seeing it online that he is pleading that please the governor should fulfill his promise of, giving him that 5 million naira to go to continue with his project or to expand his project. You see, what I'm trying to point out here is that we don't have policies in ground that are actually, intended to support those kind of innovations. What we are having instead is just a kind of system that is portraying that there is a kind of policies that is intended to help those children and youth with the talent, but in a real sense it's just a kind of making the things to be in a political point of view. So government and relevant stakeholders need to put more effort in coming up with a very good policies that would support and nurture the talent we have in Africa, because I keep saying this, Africa can hold one of the finest growing economy in the world only if it can support its homegrown talent. We have all the talent it takes. There is nothing being made in world than Africans are not making similar to it, or the one with a high IQ and everything. but what we need is how to support them. And part of knowing the importance of supporting these innovations is why I founded the STEM Club Project Africa, to particularly support the grown talent in Africa and make sure that we raise the next generation of STEM leaders in Africa who will, bring a lot of revolution in the pace of, tech sectors, bring innovations that will transform our lives. And, instead of complaining about lack of job, employment, lack of opportunities and what have you, we next a generation of talent in Africa that will even be feeding the rest of the world with the talent they have. But doing this, we first of all have to rejig our policies. There has to be, a very good relationship between the government, private sectors, non-governmental organizations, and private individuals in order to make sure that we achieve all of this. And I keep reminding our Africans mostly of this. When we wanted to achieve all these kind of innovations we are seeing in Africa, we first of all we have to first of all look back at the African Union agenda that is intended in accentuating skills and revolution of talent in Africa. We are all campaigning for sustainable development goals, and we sometimes forget to look at what is contained within the framework of the African Union 2063 agenda. That is very important, especially when we look at the TVET. The TVET is important that if we support such kind of innovations, then Africa will continue to be, in the front line when it comes into, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Lastly, we need to wake up and raise more awareness on this. And thanks to everyone that takes part in this wonderful session. It has to be one of the very good sessions I've ever been. Thank you so much for giving me opportunity to contribute.
Thank you very much, Mohammed, for your insight. And I like the angle that you've also kind of brought into the picture in terms of also keeping track of these other bodies that are actually talking about youth and ICT. ETC like the African Union, and there's documents that have put forward. I mean, when you ask a lot of youth about the Agenda 2063, honestly, not a lot of people know what is included in that, right? Because we're talking about, we've just picked the Africa Free Trade Agreement and we're running with it. We're talking about a passport that will allow you to travel, but that's 2063. But there are a lot of other aspects of this discussion that affects the youth. And I'd like you, Nella, for you to come back in and just, let's talk about moderation. And we need to moderate the digital space that exists, but also there's this aspect that has been brought out in terms of social media. This is a huge platform and the youth are making money out of it. And we can use that advantage to actually help develop the economy of different countries, but also in public health threats. I mean, we can use their platform and their influences. I mean, now they're social media influencers, but I think the public sector and other private organized sectors have not seen how do I put it, the strength in social media, especially with their TikTok. They're sending a lot of information to a lot of youth, and we haven't tapped into that to make it look like, oh, this is a good innovation, and they're actually making money out of this, and we can revamp this. What are your thoughts around that?
Thank you so much, Lizzie. I can go on about this topic for a long time, but yes, you're definitely right. It's something that, even in our own spaces here in Youth Hub Africa, we've spoken about a lot. How can we leverage off of, what we're currently seeing in terms of the patterns of digital media? It's a huge industry right now, and it's something that different to other industries is accessible to absolutely anyone. If you can pick up your phone and create content, and you follow the certain types of channels, then people will be able to engage with your content. And I do agree with you that especially if we're talking about, maybe government organizations haven't really leveraged that and used it as an opportunity to educate maybe youth, for example, if we're talking about different healthcare, the healthcare sector in general, the public healthcare spaces. I think there was a missed opportunity, if I can speak specifically for South Africa, in terms of the COVID-19 pandemic, for example, where we were all really glued to our screens. We didn't have a choice, we weren't able to interact with each other. So, we did see patterns emerging of infection rates in young people. And I think that could have been an opportunity where social media could have been used to alleviate those myths, that we were dealing with. A lot of the narrative was very much clinical, and that's why people just got disinterested. Like, I'm not going to interact with content that doesn't seem to appeal to me. So we could have really used the TikTok and social media to our advantage. So I do think that there's definitely opportunities there. And again, this is why I was saying that in order for those things to happen, you need to hire and empower young people to make those happen. It's going to be very difficult for you to try and speak the language of young people if you're not someone who can relate to that.
Yeah, for sure. I would love to hear from the other participants. I mean, we're in a space where digital, innovations are everywhere. The youth know about the digital space and they're using it. It's just that I think we have not seen a way to tap into that particular space to help with their growth as entrepreneurs so that they know that this is actually a business idea. I don't know whether Wanjiku Kingori, you're on, and maybe you can give us maybe some of your insight on this. And then next we can hear from Mary Wangeshi. Wanjiku, you can just proceed and unmute yourself if you're still on the call. If not, Mary Wangeshi Kibera, please feel free to just, give us your 2 cents on this. Not so sure whether they're still on the call. Joe Mwangi, are you with us? Can you give us your input on what you think about the contribution of the youth to digital economy in Africa? And just also to highlight, we do have like 5 minutes into the call remaining. We could add 5 more. John, are you on the call? Joe Mwangi.
Yes, I am on the call. But for today, I think I don't have much to share.
No worries, no worries.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always
of course,
pleasure.
I can always contribute something small.
Sure.
In terms of digitization. As you know, hospitality, of course, has a lot of need currently for internet from OTAs. I believe most of you have already used OTA, online travel agents. That is booking.com, Airbnb, and the rest. As well as most of you have seen so many posts being done online on Facebook, Instagram, and everywhere else by different hotels. All of that these are all opportunities that lie for the youth. If you believe you can be able to come up with the artwork, the posters for the hotels, all you have to do is just showcase whatever you can do. And definitely you will have a job for yourself. You don't really have to be employed. You don't really have to look for a job. You can be a freelancer doing all of this, and you can have as many hotels as possible. These are some of the quick ways that the youth can be able to utilize their skills and their gifts that they have to be able to make a living. So I think from that perspective, and actually we are, as always, I always say, we're always open to assist and help any youth that wants to get into this. We can guide you, we can mentor you, and help you, get something for yourself and actually even build a career.
Perfect. And that's what I had to call you, because I like the fact that you always bring this mentorship angle. And we're trying to talk about the youth and the digital economy, but somebody also needs to, show them the ropes, so to speak, around the digital space. Thank you very much, Joe, for that input. Biljana, any thoughts from your end? I don't know whether Biljana, you can hear us, but Wanjiku, thank you very much. We've taken note of the fact that you're having some technical difficulties. Hillary, if you do have any sort of feedback, please do also use the chat option or use your electronic hand. And of course, we'll just pick it up and we'll call you. I'm just trying to see if, yes, over to you.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. And it's unfortunate I joined a bit late, but the conversation we're having is one that is timely and important. And the youth who has been said by a number of from many contributions that we are the future. We're not the leaders of tomorrow, we are the leaders at the present. And the digital space of the digital economy is something that is really pivotal in the leadership that the youth are taking. We realize that at the moment you're having lots of content creators using the digital space to make money and not necessarily running away, but having a different approach to an employment problem. And it's appreciative that we're having this platform to have this conversation. And we believe that going forward, the youth, for a population to which I belong to at the moment, can still be able to continuously leverage on the available digital platforms and also use the available mentorship opportunities for those who have walked ahead of us to enable us to get through or understand or help solve the problems. Say African problems require African solutions. Thank you.
I like the way you concluded it. And what has come to my mind while you're saying that is we also need to accept and actually the fact that there's also a gap. There's a digital divide between the global north and the global south. And we're already kind of talking about chat. Is it chat GTP? And this is just, it's come in, it's running, and we're seeing how AI is taking over, and we need to moderate, or we need to also, caution the youth about this. I've seen Yvonne's hand up. Yvonne, over to you. Please feel free to unmute. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. First of all, I love your voice. I could listen to your podcast all day long.
Oh
yeah. if you had a podcast, that is. All right. First, I've enjoyed. I was the first presenter, and maybe some people may have missed, but I've enjoyed the whole session. I loved how Mohammed talked about systems that will be able to help the youth. I'm a youth, and I'm really enjoying this. And I loved how Sarah Noor was talking about taking up space. And Joe, I think we should link up on that. We were talking about creating artwork, and I am a mental health advocate, art of ART, advocate. And first of all, having mental illness, and then I am a recovering person with mental illness. And then now you talk about being a youth. Then now you talk about having seizures. I studied architecture, but having seizures in a construction site, it was a whole other thing. But I just want to encourage the youth, just like I said, the digital space has endless opportunities. Through the digital space, you're able to get teletherapy, and that is exactly what I got, and I became well after 5 years of medication. So anyone can be able to take advantage of that, but it needs you to get out of that victim mentality and take up space, just like Sarah Noor said. And we really appreciate that. I feel home being here because I feel like I'm being talked to. So it can be kind of annoying when we're talking about how we can be able to create space for them. And I know clearly sending proposals and people are not able to understand somehow how this will be impactful. Like, for example, art. People don't understand why hospitals are white. They don't understand that colors and designs actually influence how you think and what products you buy. So it's a whole other thing when you talk about Africa embracing the digital space right now. And now that AI is here, I want to tell the youth that it's even much easier. It's much easier for us to be able to create art pieces. Even you don't have to do it from scratch. But yes, we have the highest intellectual rate in the world as Africa. And the sad bit is that we don't even support our own. No matter your IQ, you can find some person just having another kind of job because we are not giving ourselves opportunity. We thank God that we have Italy and the US being able to help us. But how can we able to have that Ubuntu to be able to assist one another, especially in this society that where everything is kind of difficult? Yes, we will keep on sending proposals. We will keep on having this conversation. We won't let the fire burn. But I want us not to have, as the youth, just like me, there was a time I was like, I'll no longer be a victim. Let us start Jasiri Warriors, where we talk about mental wellness in this generation, and also starting Zufu Designs, talking about art in every facet. interior architecture and all that. So we will not tire, but at the same time, we will not be victims. Yeah, thank you for letting me share.
Thank you very much. I like that perspective you brought. I mean, as I mentioned earlier on, we have $1.8 billion adolescents in youth. That's a huge number. And that's a delicate stage also. I mean, we're talking about youth and the digital space, but they need to be guided because this is a delicate stage for them, and also kind of transforming from one particular phase in life to another one. And this is where adulthood kicks in. And whatever you do now literally affects your future. I like the fact that you brought the mental aspect. We need to make sure that they're mentally stable. Before we start talking about, this is the digital space, this is what they're doing. We need to have those, mentally stable, mentally abled, youth. And I also like the fact that you brought in, we need to be a bit selfish. I mean, I'll use that word. We need to be a bit selfish about our own innovations within our country, within the continent itself. And governments need to put in measures that protect my idea and my innovation, that nobody will go copy paste it, and run with it and make money out of it. So as a youth and with my, brilliant idea that will help the communities in like recycling the garbage, reducing the number of malaria infections, etc. We need to also invest in those ideas from a local perspective. But I like what Shreya has said, and Shreya, I like the fact that you're very passionate about this topic and would like to connect. In the meantime, Shreya, I don't know whether you're there still or you've dropped, but if you're on the call, Rob, I think we've dropped Shreya, but no worries. As I mentioned, we're only going to take 5 more minutes out of this, and we only have a minute, and I'm going to kind of wrap it up because I haven't seen any hand go up. But I want to call upon the YIDP team also, and thank you very much for letting me kind of moderate the other half or quarter of the session. I know filling in Shadrach's shoes was quite a challenge, but I'd like to hand it over to YIDP. I believe it's Collins, if you're on the call. Oh, Collins, are you the one who's going to run with it?
Yes, Liz.
So you had to take the limelight. Okay, no worries. So I'm going to hand over to Collins so that he can actually wrap up. And also, Collins, if you can mention the upcoming conference, that will be good because we really need people to, register for this. And this is something that's going to also help with these discussions being moved forward to a whole new level. But in the meantime, on behalf of the previous moderator, thank you very much to our speakers who contributed. And we look forward to having more roundtable discussions around youth and what else we can do for this big number that we have within the continent and across the globe. Over to you, Collins.
Thank you, Liz. You can hear?
Yes, loud and clear. Yes.
Okay. I think
now I can't hear you.
Which is coming up. Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, now carry on. I could hear you. I lost you for me.
Great. So we have an upcoming event. This is a youth convention. It's going to be a Pan-African convention that will convene high-level people together with the youth. So this is going to be a discussion of how we can build a healthy community for the youth. We'll be touching on digital health. We'll be touching on health. We will also be touching on a lot of leadership and also more of sports. I think this is a conversation that we can't miss. Inviting you, if you are interested, to participate virtually or as partner, as a speaker, and also even as a delegate. We really welcome you. You can reach out to us through the contacts that I've provided there in the banner. And we'll also keep on updating you here and there on the progress. So we have a number of institutions which have come on board to work with us in this. And we still have some slots for every interested person who can reach out to us so that we can build a healthy and a sustainable Africa together. And we also have a post-event. We are thinking of now, we've had a lot of runs here and there. We've had runs for art. cancer. But there is this giant which is killing people, and do institutions, private and public together, need to come together to combat it. So this is mental and physical health. At this point of age, you find 15 years old is suffering from diabetes. At this point of age, you find people from disadvantaged communities. Parents do not have that knowledge to at least guide their children. They don't know to differentiate between mental illness and adolescence. So we need to be equipped. But the only way we can put awareness is different institutions in this, so that we narrow down mental illnesses in our country today. So that's all from my side. I'm going to call Opon to wrap up. I know Dr. Opon, you are there, you can hear me, so that we call it a day.
Thank you very much, Collins, and a wonderful job that you've done. The contribution that we have had from the panelists and the participants is very powerful. This is one of the ways that we are going to ensure that our youths are fully engaged, health-wise, entrepreneurship-wise. We want to make sure that we bring our youths in leadership position. We've always been told that youths are the leaders of tomorrow, but we're saying we are youth are leadership of today. So what we need to ask ourselves as youths, what is it that we are doing to take up leadership positions? Are we doing enough? Are we waiting to be invited? Someone said that if they do not invite you to the table where important decisions about your welfare is being made, then you bring your own share there and contribute. Otherwise, thank you very much to every participant, all the organizations that have been involved here doing great work around the world. We appreciate your presence here. In the event that you need to get in touch with the Youth Initiative Development Program, please get in touch with the Director of Partnerships and Projects, that is Robinson Odada. The contacts are on your screen. And please get involved, get engaged. A lot of activities coming up as demonstrated by Collins in that wonderful presentation. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending, and see you again in the upcoming event.